You're listening to the Bloodshed Baddies.
Hi, I'm Lex,
And I'm Sam.
and we are the Bloodshed Baddies.
Hi, baddies.
What up, what up, what up, what up?
What up, Lex?
What up, Sam?
Not a whole lot. Well, I mean, a whole lot, but not a whole lot at the same time, if you catch my drift.
It's summertime.
Summertime.
What fun plans do you have this summer, Samantha?
I have a busy summer, actually. I am going to, by the time this comes out, I probably will already have visited home, going back to the mitten for a little bit. And then I'm also planning a trip overseas with my man.
Ooh, ooh, ooh.
And then that's the only fun stuff. What about you, sister?
Kind of a chiller summer than typical. I am going back to the mitten for one weekend. Well,
Ooh, we'll
one
see each
night.
other.
No, not very long. We have a wedding coming up. July's pretty chill. But we are having a chiller summer because we have a big trip planned for the end of August.
Tell the baddies where you're going.
We are going to Japan.
So cool. If you guys have any suggestions, if you've been there before, shout them out to Lex. I have never been, but I hear great, great things. I'm excited for you.
Yes, and with all our traveling, it's a lot of time on planes to read books. So, what are you reading right now, Sam?
Yes. I just got done reading The Giver of Stars, which is a
Oh,
historical fiction book. I think they're supposed to make a movie out of it, but that was like 2020, but I don't know. But it's really good. It's about like some librarians on horseback in like Kentucky during the Depression era. It's pretty cool. Pretty good book. And then I'm gonna read the book you suggested, Women Are Dragons.
When Women Were Dragons.
That's next on my list. What about you, sister?
I just finished reading a romance novel called Love in the Time of Serial Killers.
Okay.
And it is about this lady who is doing her doctorate dissertation on like the relationship between the author and true crime and what it says about our culture. And she also is staying at her dad's house for the summer because he passed away. So they have to get it ready to sell. And romance ensues. And it's a very cutesy book. And then next on my list is also When Women Were Dragons.
That sounds very cool. Speaking of like somewhat romance, well, it is romance. Also just finished listening to Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez, and that was very
Oh,
good. Yeah, I recommend it. It was a nice listen, easy.
so if you have any books to add to our summer reading lists, please drop a comment. We're always looking for books. And I feel like we haven't talked about books in a minute on here.
We haven't, and I love talking about books, so that was a nice start to a cray cray case.
Okay, let's get into it.
All right, so this one actually is very similar to the one you did by the time this post like 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So there are a lot of similarities to that. And I also feel like it'll make you very upset, Lex, because mainly it's the system failing that I feel like is part of the reason for this terrible murder, which in cases like that are always so tragic. But we are going to the UK today to talk about the amazing Gracie Spinks and her unfortunate, untimely death. Gracie Spinks was born October 19th, 1997 in Chesterfield, Derbyshire. Is that
Oh,
how I say it?
Derbyshire. I don't know. Sounds like it.
Derbyshire is in the East Midlands of England and looks absolutely beautiful if you look it up. Did you not go to England before, Lex, or am I wrong?
I have been to England.
So you know how beautiful it is.
Yeah, I've been mostly to the London area.
Anyway, though, Gracie was the first child of Richard and Allison Spinks. 16 months later, her little brother Thomas was born.
Oh, that's so close in age.
I know, right? Unfortunately, when she was 5, her parents did end up separating, but she was lucky and remained close to both her parents. In 2006, her little sister Abby was born. It seemed like she really loved her family and would often stand up for them and her friends. She was outspoken and a no nonsense type person, which I personally love. But everyone seemed to gravitate towards her. She was very well liked at school. Gracie was vivacious, outgoing, and friendly. She loved music and art classes and actually taught herself piano. How cool is that?
Oh, okay.
She was also in theater and dance and just overall incredibly hardworking. She was fiercely independent and really lived life to the fullest and was looking forward to her future ahead of her.
Ooh.
After Gracie left college, she had a lot of different jobs to support herself and her horse. She had a pet horse.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. She started riding around 11 years old, and it really became her main focus in life. It was like her passion. She had 2 horses, Amber first, and then Patty. Gracie actually taught Amber to jump and then competed in a lot of shows, but unfortunately, Amber passed away. And at the time of all of this, Gracie still had Patty, and she loved taking care of her.
Aw. Patty's a cute name for a horse.
Isn't it? Oh, so cute. Gracie was actually pursuing a career as a swimming teacher before she was furloughed in 2020, probs because of COVID.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think people were going to the pools that much in COVID. That's for sure.
So 23-year-old Gracie, being the hard worker she was, took a temporary job at a local e-commerce company, Xbite. And if you are like me, you might be like, what is an e-commerce company? So I
Yeah.
looked it up. And it's actually a company that sells products online. And Xbite specialized in like video games, toys, and gadgets.
Oh, okay. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
I believe Gracie worked in the warehouse of this company. This is where she meets her supervisor, 35-year-old Michael Sellers.
Wait, so she's just to clarify, she's 23, he's 35.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
I don't have much background on Michael Sellers, but according to the man who investigated this case, Michael seemed to have a stable and quote unquote normal upbringing. He had a quote unquote normal education. He lived a middle class life. He was said to be rather shy, and it was also said that Michael spent a lot of time with his family and didn't appear to have any close friends and seemed like he never had a girlfriend before.
Okay.
He also seemed to attach himself to people who gave him attention. Michael lived at home with his parents and sister, and he started working for Xbite in 2015. So he was there 5 years before Gracie got her job.
Okay.
Gracie was very friendly and outgoing, and near the end of October, Michael and Gracie started messaging each other on Messenger, and they actually did meet a few times outside of work, one of the times being where she kept her horse. But it never turned into like a boyfriend girlfriend situation or like a dating situation. I do believe there was one time, one incident, he did try to like throw himself on her and kiss her, and Gracie felt very uncomfortable.
And he's like her supervisor, right?
That is correct.
So it is like kind of weird, even from the beginning, to
Yes.
be like hanging out. Like, I don't know. I don't hang out with my supervisor outside of work a lot, just us two.
Yeah, usually that's a no-no. I don't know about this company, but usually, yeah. On December 16th, 2020, Gracie ends up telling Michael that she no longer wanted this friendship to continue. She realized there were no feelings there. There were some texts where it appeared that she was trying to let him down gently. She politely and kindly just told him she did not wish to continue seeing him. This is where the story should have ended. Michael should have dealt with the blow and left Gracie alone. But unfortunately, that is not the case.
But he has a fragile ego, like so many crazy men.
Yes. After Gracie told Michael she didn't want the friendship to continue, Michael started bombarding their colleagues with questions about her, which is creepy. He would also spy on her using the CCTV security footage at his work.
What?
Yes. Michael also abused his position as supervisor, like you said, and encouraged a junior colleague to effectively spy on Gracie and provide feedback on what she was doing.
What? Could you imagine your supervisor asking you to spy on your coworker? Because he's butt fucking her?
So just weird and making work super uncomfortable for Gracie. It clearly escalated on January 4th, 2021, when she pulled up to take care of her horse and sees Michael waiting in his car for her.
Mm, no.
Yeah, like she is going about her day, going to do something she loves, and then sees this man that she was like, I don't want to be friends with you anymore. I just feel so bad for her. But Gracie does the right thing and drives off and then
Go,
reports,
Gracie.
yep, and then reports him to their employer and also blocks him on everything.
She did all the right things.
Agreed. After pursuing an investigation, Xbite also does the right thing and they dismiss Michael from employment.
Wow. That's good for this company.
I agree. Through this work investigation, they found out that this has happened before with other girls at this job. And it seemed to have progressed into a worse situation with each case.
Oh my God. So he's just like finding these girls out of his job and then trying to date them.
Basically, they find out Michael had previously harassed at least 8 other women.
Eight,
I
eight,
literally
eight,
wrote
eight.
eight in all caps. You literally just read my next line. Yes, 8.
That's fudging wild.
Some women reported that they quit their job because of this, moved houses to avoid him. And one woman said that Michael had actually bumped her car with his at a roundabout as he followed her home.
Oh, okay. So just totally chill motherfucking shit.
It was quoted that he would latch onto women who showed him attention. He would think that relationships were more than they actually were. He would give unwanted attention, and he made some of those women feel uncomfortable.
Mm.
Their colleagues were like, yeah, he was sacked because he was a total nuisance to Gracie, but also it was also because of those findings from the investigation that this wasn't the first time and it's been escalating each time.
Mhm.
According to his family, after Xbite let Michael go, his personality changed. He was very fragile, quiet, and withdrawn. He seemed to have like lost his way in life. He also allegedly told his family that he didn't want Gracie to love him. He just wanted her to like him.
Um, okay. I don't know. I don't like it.
No, I don't like it either. So now Michael is sacked. And in February of 2021, Gracie makes another smart decision and she reports Michael Sellers to the police.
Good for her.
She said she just wanted to make a report and let them know what was happening, especially since through the work investigation, she found out that this has happened before and progressed. The call was released and it's linked into the show notes, but she basically said after she told Michael she didn't see their friendship going anywhere, he became obsessed with her and wouldn't leave her alone, and this scared her. Gracie said she told her employer, and they did that huge investigation, and he got fired, and he was angry and apparently trying to appeal it. Again, she told the police part of the reason she wanted it on file was because her work told her that this has happened before with other girls at work, and it seemed to progress into a worse situation each case, and she thought the best thing to do would be to have it on file. She didn't want him arrested, but something on file for her in the future if this happened to someone else.
I just made a realization. You said he started working there 5 years before Gracie,
Yes.
and he did this to 8 women in 5 years.
I did not think of that, but that's actually insane. That's actually insane.
Because I
That's
was
more
thinking
than
like this report and like doing this is such a good idea because it might help prevent him from doing it to other girls. Like if other girls would have reported it sooner. But and then I was like, well, he's been at other companies. So like how many girls altogether has he done this to?
you're totally right, because it's probably not just these 8 women.
This is terrifying. This
It's
guy is
awful.
8 women you've stalked in 5 years.
Yep.
You're busy.
9, counting Gracie.
Yes. That's
That's
almost two
insane.
women a year that you're stalking.
Really gross. Gracie also told the police she was scared after she saw him waiting in the car by her horse stables. She then said, quote, I'm just worried that the next time it happens to someone else, it could be worse. He might kidnap someone.
Wow.
So again, Gracie's doing everything that you are told to do is the right thing to do. She's reporting him to work. She's putting it on file in the police department. She realizes the progression. She doesn't want this to affect someone else in the future, so she wants it on file. Now, apparently, officers did talk to Michael and caution him to leave Gracie alone. but they categorized him as, quote, low risk.
A 9 women in 5 years doesn't sound low risk to me. Like, I know there has to be some kind of like, no, I don't know. I feel like so many times stalking escalates to other things. Like, it's not common for it to just end at showing up at your horse stables a couple times. So like
Sadly,
this
yeah.
should have be taken so much more seriously.
They will later say because Gracie said she didn't want him arrested is one of the reasons that the police said they didn't do anything,
So they're victim blaming.
basically.
They're like, oh, well, if she wanted him arrested, if she would have said that, then we would have been able to do something, but she didn't. So, ha ha, joke's on her.
Which is just awful. I also think like the first time a person who's being stalked calls the police, of course they're going to downplay it a little just because it's like an odd situation, you know? However, Gracie told the police about the other woman. Like you said, this is not a one-time thing. And even if it was, take it seriously. But this has
Yes.
happened 8 other times. And the police did not talk to the previous employer, Xbite, or they would have known this, even though Gracie said this on the phone, or carry out a national database check. So they should have, at the very least, contacted Xbite.
They should have just done so much different. They should have done so much different.
Yes. I did do a quick Google search about the differences between UK and US stalking laws. And from my very quick search, I'm not claiming to be an expert here at all, there are differences. In the US, we define stalking based on specific actions of the stalker. And in the UK, they define it by the overall impact on the victim.
No, I don't like that.
So the UK prioritizes the victim's experience. The US can also differ based on states as far as restraining orders go. In the UK, it is a criminal proceeding, and the US, it is civil. So there are some differences that would possibly make police go about this in different ways. But
I just feel like, okay, first off, women tend to downplay this stuff all the time. Like,
yep,
it's just something women do because it's creepy behavior from men is too common.
yeah,
It's so common that you're almost kind of like used to it. So it's very
which
downplayed. I also think, like, depending on how police are talking to you, if they're like, well, like, do you want us to go like arrest him? You might be like, well, now that you say it, it sounds like it's too much. Like, that might be too much. Like, it was only a couple times. Maybe I don't want to ruin his life over like, no, 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 no. He's exhibiting these behaviors. That's what we should be looking at. Not, I mean, I think the impact that it makes on a person is so important, but I think it's hard to get how much it's actually impacting a person.
1,000%, because I think even when you're in it, you don't realize it until you're out of it. Like, wow, that was super creepy. And wow, I shouldn't have like been like, oh, it's no big deal. And also that's like where the police and people should be educated enough to say, okay, she's saying not arrest him, but she's saying it happened before. So let's go see Xbite. Let's see if this is a certain thing. And then let's make that decision on our own. She made the report, and that's so important and incredible. But we have to figure out steps to see if this is a case where it's escalating, which it clearly did.
100%.
So unfortunately, it does continue to escalate. And on March 11th, 2021, Michael brought several knives online.
Knives.
Knives.
Oh, okay.
On May 6th, 2021, a woman walking her dog found a rucksack, which is like a little duffel
Like a
bag.
backpack.
Yes. She opened it up, which, brave lady, and there were three knives, a hammer, an alleged axe, possible, I saw in a couple sources, Viagra, and a note that said, quote, don't lie.
What?
There was also a receipt in this bag for some of those items that, if investigated, could have been directly linked to Michael.
Wait, I think I missed something. This wasn't investigated?
Well, this lady immediately reports this to the police. Yay, lady. She's like, I found this crazy bag and there's these really weird items in this. And the police don't do much with it. They think that it could be possible, quote, theater props.
I'm sorry. Is there a theater? Was it in a theater dumpster?
They think maybe it was for woodworking, or maybe somebody was into something kinky.
Okay, I don't know why somebody who is woodworking would have a Viagra and a note that says "Don't lie."
This bag was also found very near to where Gracie kept her horse. Again, if they would have investigated the receipt, seen the report from Gracie, they would have been able to put things together. Awful.
I'm frustrated.
Yeah, this is a very frustrating case.
And I get that you police probably don't have time or resources to check every bag of rando stuff that they've ever been turned in your entire life. But I feel like this isn't, it's not just like someone went to the store and bought a couple random things.
All of those
It's
things
like
together, creepy.
specific scary things.
The very same day this bag was found, Michael brought more knives.
Okay.
On June 18th, 2021, it was a Friday, Gracie left her family home at 7:30 a.m. to drive the few miles to Blue Lodge Farm stables in Duckmanton, Derbyshire, where she kept her horse. She was last seen by her mother at 8:40 a.m. in the paddock where she kept her horse. Gracie was tragically discovered unconscious with multiple stab wounds.
Can't be the guy who's buying fucking knives.
She was stabbed a total of 10 times, with the fatal wound being to her neck.
Ugh,
The knife was found near her body, and when paramedics arrived, they did try to revive her, but there was too much blood loss.
that's horrible.
Chills. A few hours after finding Gracie, around 11, Michael was found in a nearby field about half a mile away. He left his house at 6:30 a.m. and sat and waited for Gracie to come to the horse stables. He died of self-inflicted suffocation.
He kills himself after this?
Yes.
So, okay, let me get this straight. He sits, waits for Gracie, kills her, then goes out into a middle of the field and suffocates himself?
It appeared to be self-inflicted suffocation. I don't have many details on it, but it was clear that he took his own life. He was one that purchased an item that was used in his death, and the suicide showed a significant amount of planning.
So he planned all of this.
Yes, because a book was found in his bedroom which described various methods of suicide, and he also left a handwritten note and left various notes to his family members.
What do we know what these notes say?
I I
Okay.
don't know if it's out there what the note specifically said.
I know, like, I know there's in cases like this, there's not really a why, right? But
Correct.
it's like, what was it about Gracie that pushed this over the edge? Was it that she went to the police? Was it that he got fired from his job? Like, what? I or would this have happened with like any of the other girls? Like, it's so wild to me.
It is that each chime showed progression, but this progression seemed very or was very extreme.
Yeah.
I believe it wasn't until the day after her murder that the bag being found the few months earlier was connected to this. A few days after Gracie's tragic murder, a government petition was started by Jackie Barnett Wheatcroft. I believe Jackie is a resident of the area. She is a nurse and she was stalked herself as a teenager. She said after hearing what happened to Gracie, it angered her and she realized they need harsher laws around stalking and violence in general.
Yes.
So she's a baddie, but she started this petition to highlight and bring more attention to the problems of stalking. Gracie's law petition basically is to request the government to pass legislation or provide funding within police budgets to tackle the ever growing issue of stalking.
Yes.
Be that training for officers, the provision of specialist anti stalking units, and funding for independent stalking advocates. All things that I think should be happening.
Yes. Especially because I think like with technology evolving so quickly, there's so many more ways to stalk a person. Like there's trackers that can be put on people's cars. There's, like stuff you can put on the phone to track. There's so many things on the internet available for you to track somebody or make sure that you know where people are at all times. It's scary, and their laws obviously don't always protect women, as we can see from the last couple cases we've done like this.
Yeah. And I think that training for officers, yes, train them more so they do hear these things and say, oh, you know what? This is problematic. Let's do this. Um, a anti-stalking unit specific would be fantastic to reach out to. And I think an independent stalking advocate would be so beneficial to anyone being stalked. Hey, this
Yes.
isn't okay. I'm a specialist in this area and this is going to progress. So I think all those things are so incredibly
And
helpful.
help you have the resources. Like, I think a lot of you have to change a lot when you're being stalked to keep yourself
Yeah,
safe. And it shouldn't be a responsibility, but you a lot of times need to change your phone number, need to change even where you live sometimes. Like, I'm sure if it was easy to change where her horse was, she would have changed it, but it's not probably easy to go find another stable and get your horse and transport it to another stable. Like, those are all things that are super duper hard. And I feel like having someone who can sit down with you and say, like, let's look at this stuff and how we can keep you safe, and the
exactly.
best, most efficient way to do that.
Yes. They did receive their signatures, but if you want to donate to help the cause, I will add the link to the website for you baddies, which will be in the show notes. The police sergeant did come out and say in response to Gracie's death, the force had made significant changes to the ways in which we receive and investigate stalking reports, as well as how we support and safeguard victims of these crimes.
That's great. I would love to know what these significant changes are, though.
Truth. But actually, 5 Derbyshire police faced misconduct proceedings based on the failure to report.
Wow.
Yep.
I'm actually really impressed with that.
In 2023, an inquest jury concluded that Gracie was unlawfully killed by a man that she reported was stalking her. Police did admit to a number of failings while handling the case. 2 constables were found to have breached the standards and received written warnings.
Like a little more than written warnings when someone dies, but I get it. I get it.
Again, officers cautioned him and did not investigate further. They labeled him low risk. They failed to investigate the bag of weapons found close to where he was seen stalking her. If they would have found it directly relating to Michael, found the police call from Gracie, connected the dots that it was near where she was stalking her. Police also should have requested his work file because Gracie said this has happened before. They needed to look at
Yes.
risk factors here for Gracie, the victim, and they did not. This inquest also showed that victims of stalking don't always realize the level of risk they are exposed to, which is kind of what I was saying earlier, and you were saying as well. You go to the police for support, so they need to be better trained for situations like this because they did completely fail Gracie and her family.
Amen. Hallelujah. Say it louder for the people in the back of the room.
Her father said, quote, it has been upsetting and emotionally draining. It has been a catalog of errors on the police's part. I think Derbyshire police have let Gracie down big time. It seems like they weren't bothered. They didn't want to investigate. They completely failed to join the dots. Her mom said, quote, the inquest has shown us that victims of stalking don't actually always realize the level of risk they are exposed to. You look to the police for support because they are supposedly trained in this, but they just completely failed.
100% Gracie's mom.
They also said, we want to bring change across the UK and put funding in place for advocates and police forces that can deal with stalking cases specifically. We didn't realize how big a problem this was until it happened to Gracie. Again, this is where I think those stalking advocates could be so beneficial because if this is the first time happening, again, people don't realize how fast stalking can progress or how long they were actually being stalked for. They were just realizing the
Mm-hmm.
first things. So this is a perfect example. So something that could have been totally preventable and just awful, but hopefully this sheds light on the issues and how police and the law deal with stalking, especially in the UK. And maybe there will be even some trickle down to the US as well, because we know that needs some help as well. But just very unfortunate that someone like Gracie had to be the example of, like, this is why we need to do better, because we do.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the avoidable murder of Gracie Spinks.
Wow. I think I'm glad that we've done I know that for you guys, it might seem like, oh no, we did a couple stalking ones in pretty similar succession. That was all by accident. We just both picked stalking ones
Yeah,
recently.
we did not talk about what
um,
cases we were doing.
but I think it's good to put it out there and talk about this stuff. So that way women who might not realize they're being stalked, who might be like, but is it that bad that he does this? It's annoying and kind of creepy, but is it really a crime? Like, yes, it is. Go report, go report, go report, go report.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note too that like ours were pretty similar, like both coworkers that like progressed in a terrible, terrible way. But it's not always just like a coworker. It could be a family member, a friend, someone that you would think would be a friend, an
Someone in your
acquaintance,
class.
someone that you ran into on the street. You used to go to school. Like it's not always necessarily a coworker. It could be any of those things.
Yeah.
Just awful and two awful stalking cases in a row. And that's why I think that like I agree with Gracie's family and the baddie Jackie, who says there needs to be a lot changed with how police look at stalking.
Yeah. And let's hope we see some of those changes soon.
Agreed.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Wherever you are following us, or whoop, just kidding, wherever you are listening to us, please give us a follow. Start downloading some episodes. Give us some likes, some reviews. Go onto the Instagram, the Facebook, the TikTok, the YouTube. Smash that like button. Share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with your coworkers, share it with your church, share it with your best buddies, share it with your book club. Share, 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 share.
Yes, and send us an email as well with a case suggestion or a story to bloodshedbaddies@gmail.com. Our intro music is made by our awesome cousin Vinny. Tell everybody like our stuff and tune in next week for a Lex episode.
Bye bye, buddies.